Welcome to today's mini podcast of Spiritual Awakening Radio. Christian meditation and mysticism does exist. Is a thing, believe it or not. You'd never know it from many traditions. As a general rule of thumb, the further west you go in Christian traditions, there is greater and greater hostility to the concepts of an interior life, a spiritual life, or meditation practice. If someone says they see a light on the road to Damascus, they'll say it's the devil probably appearing as an angel of light, a very overused passage. But the further east you go in Christianity, there is room for spiritual life, contemplative steps and stages, such as in Eastern Orthodoxy, and a great collection of saintly writings known as the Philokalia. And the Syriac Fathers of Eastern Christianity is a very rich spiritual tradition indeed. Christian meditation and mysticism does exist, is a thing, has been a thing since the very beginning of Christianity, and of course in Judaism long before that. The following passage from the Acts of Peter provides a great description of meditation practice from a Christian orientation. It says, "Give ear, withdraw your souls from all that appears but is not truly real. Close these eyes of yours, close your ears, withdraw from actions that are outwardly seen, and you shall know the reality of Christ and the whole secret of your salvation." That passage from the Acts of Peter is found translated into English in a collection of apocryphal writings and Dead Sea Scrolls and other writings from antiquity called The Other Bible, edited by Willis Barnstone. The Acts of Peter is the same book that records a tradition about Peter, out of respect for Jesus not wanting to be crucified the same way as his spiritual master, and he requested to be crucified upside down. It's that very same book, the very same book that talks about Peter being crucified upside down, is the one that has that passage about meditation. The Acts of Peter is one of the earliest of the apocryphal Acts of the Apostles. The majority of the text has survived only in Latin translation. It's mainly notable for a description of a miracle contest between St. Peter and Simon Magus, and as the first record of the tradition that St. Peter was, as I mentioned, crucified head down, or upside down. It's also very much related to another book called the Acts of John. Traditionally, both works were said to have been written by Lucius Charnius, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, who Epiphanius identifies as the companion of the Apostle John. Christian meditation and mysticism does exist, is a thing. It says in the book of Enoch, "I will speak to you when you are alone. Be still and know I am God." That sounds familiar, doesn't it? In the Hebrew Scriptures, Psalm 46 verse 10, meditation in the Bible, meditation in the Hebrew Scriptures. Be still and know. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46 verse 10. In the Acts of St. Thomas it says, "I will come to you in the silence." And also a hymn of St. Thomas called the Song of Praise of Thomas the Apostle, there is this verse, "To be glorified art thou, the Father supreme, born of thy firstborn, in the silence and tranquility of meditation." St. Thomas the Apostle, from the Acts of Thomas in India, translated from the original Syriac Aramaic language in a collection of apocryphal Acts of the Apostles called apocryphal Acts of the Apostles. Abraham of Nathpar was a Syriac saint from the Syriac tradition of Eastern Christianity, which I have a tremendous amount of respect for as being sort of the ultimate and most rich spiritual tradition within Christianity. Abraham of Nathpar once said, "There is a silence of the tongue. There is a silence of the whole body. There is a silence of the soul. There is a silence of the mind. And there is a silence of the spirit." Or as Kabir further to the east once said, "Go deeper, past thoughts into silence, past silence into stillness, past stillness into the heart. Let love consume all that is left of you." Christian mysticism and meditation does exist, is a thing. Thomas Kelly, a Quaker mystic from his great spiritual classic called A Testament of Devotion. Deep within us all, there is an amazing inner sanctuary of the soul, a holy place, a divine center, a speaking voice to which we may continually return. Eternity is at our hearts, pressing upon our time-torn lives, warming us with intimations of an astounding destiny, calling us home unto itself. Yielding to these persuasions, gladly committing ourselves in body and soul, utterly and completely, to the light within, is the beginning of true life. It is a dynamic center, a creative life that presses to birth within us. There are both outward and inward avenues to wisdom. There is the wisdom of living teachers with us now, as well as the wisdom left behind in the form of scriptures and spiritual classics by saints and mystics of previous generations. Outward instruction and inspiration are priceless, and there is also the inner voice of the silence we can tap into. As Meister Eckhart once said, "There is a speaking of God in the core of the soul where no creature can enter or speak. For only God lives there, and only He speaks. God speaks there when the soul puts aside all that is created, when she silences her powers and gains a vision into the foundation of her pure essence. In this pure and silent soul, God the Father speaks, and she hears His voice. From the depths within, live from the center of one's being. The art of listening in the silence of meditation provides us with countless opportunities to see clearly, without the usual day-to-day distractions, perceiving the events of our life from a higher vantage point. As Mother Teresa of Calcutta once said, "Silence gives us a new way of looking at everything." We need this silence in order to touch souls. Silence allows angels to whisper advice into our ears, if you will. It also makes it possible for the authentic soul to rise to the surface, introducing a new divine power or grace into this dimension of reality. It imparts insight and ultimately wisdom born out of the depths or womb of contemplative silence, giving birth to the realization of the soul. As St. Paul once said, "And God raised us up with Christ and seated us with Him in the heavenly realms." The following comes from the book of Allegenus, the stranger or foreigner, as in a stranger in a strange land. First Allegenus is one of the texts of the Nag Hammadi library. There was within me a stillness of silence, and I heard the blessedness whereby I knew my real self. Christian meditation and mysticism does exist, is a thing. Thanks for joining me today on this mini podcast of Spiritual Awakening Radio. To say hello, send me an email at this address, james@spiritualawakeningradio.com. If you'd like to receive links to books like the Nag Hammadi Library, you can request that. I'll be happy to find some of these writings for you or send you the links to them online. James@spiritualawakeningradio.com, or send me a text message at this number if you like, 207-358-9381. Visit my website, spiritualawakeningradio.com. There is a donate button at the website that goes to PayPal. There are links to my blogs. Daily spiritual quotes are available through Twitter, Tumblr, Facebook, and other social media sites. spiritualawakeningradio.com. Thanks for joining me.